drum kit up here, but it's kind of hidden in
Like
different
AP,
places.
like I get in there yesterday to do an interview and they have a snare drum and they're like, yeah, so we'll do a little something. I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
Beatles to Slayer, see?
it's awesome. That's a great transition. Literally.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Beatles to Slayer.
Should we cut this music before you count? Oh, okay. Cool. Hey, everybody. My name's Mandy. I'm here at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Welcome to episode 6 of our guest sets series. I'm here with Frank Zummo, drummer for Sum 41, Krewella, and Street Drum Corps. He's getting ready to play outside on our PNC Rock Hall Live stage as a part of his Loyal to the Craft Drum Clinic tour. He's created a totally awesome playlist. I can't tell you how excited I am about this playlist of the music that has influenced his drumming. It's available on Spotify on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame channel, and we're going to talk about a few of those songs today. Thanks so much for being here, Frank.
Thanks for having me. This is awesome.
That's great. You have created this excellent playlist full of some of the best drummers in the world. But I'm guessing that the most influential drummer in your life isn't on this list. I wanted to start by talking about your childhood and the influence that your dad, as a drummer, had on you as a drummer and a person.
Yeah, I mean, he and my mother were in a band together. They were in like a really awesome cover band where they played Joplin, Zeppelin, Santana, like all the classics. And my mom literally, up until I was born, she was still performing. She just wore a dress to hide the belly. And so I was really born into it. And he had his 70s Ludwig kit in the apartment that I was born in, and my mom said that at 2 years old, I walked away from the dinner table, and the next thing they heard was me playing the drums, and then that was it. And he basically, at that moment, kind of just said he was done playing, and he gave me the drums, and instead of teaching me, because he was self-taught, and I think he didn't want to teach me the wrong way, he just gave me his record collection, because he used to be a college DJ, and a set of headphones, and just said, figure it out. And that's where a lot of these in this playlist, that stuff comes from, that made such a early impression on me, because I just grew up, you know, with this amazing record collection, and I have all those records still, and I have his drum set still.
Wow, that's so important, just kind of your musical upbringing. And it's great because I assume you literally don't remember the first time you played the drums if you were 2.
No, and we talked about this last night at AP. You know, I don't remember that apartment. I don't remember any of this because, you know, you don't have memories, you know, till I think after 3 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I remember my drum room in the house that I grew up in and all that, but I don't remember, you know, that. And it's crazy because I have a 2-year-old now, and he started drumming at birth. You know, and he's been all over the world with me. He was here with me last summer. He loved this place.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm just like, that's why I'm making sure to video everything and take as many pictures so he can see all this. Because there's pictures of me at that young literally on a folding chair and that drum set, but not no video. My parents didn't have. I don't know if it existed then. Like the videos didn't start until I was after 3 years old.
So it's a family tradition then, just passed down from generation to generation.
Yeah, I mean, literally, I'm gonna, you know, give that drum set to my son, and it's pretty special. I was like, that's the only sentimental thing. Like, I went home for the holidays, and my mom has all my toys, has everything saved. She's like, what do you want? I'm like, just this drum set. It's the only thing that means anything to me. You know, that is my childhood, and that was my foundation and start.
Yeah, yeah. So the first track on your playlist is the classic 1952 drum battle with Gene Krupa and Buddy Rich. Talk about why that is so meaningful to you.
I got to see Buddy Rich when I was really, really young at Hofstra University in Long Island with his big band, and seeing a drummer lead a band and be the lead singer basically and command that stage and play like such a powerful, you know, it was so amazing to see that at such a young age. It really, really inspired me, and it was kind of the first time I'd ever seen a drummer being a band leader.
Yeah.
And then later on, when I started studying, I went to a big band drummer, and he taught me all those charts, and I got to play all that stuff. And I mean, that is one of the most classic drum solo, drum battles of all time that is just a timeless thing that they created that will just live on forever. And that was like a go-to when anyone ever says, you know, what influenced you, what, you know, what inspired you, what, and, you know, for this playlist, I was like, that has to go in there.
Yeah, track one.
Yeah.
And I completely agree. And there's something special about seeing great drummers playing together, and you've had a lot of opportunities to do that. Even at the Alternative Press Music Awards last year, I mean, you got to play with, who was it, Adrian Young of No Doubt, I think, and Josh Dunn of 21 Pilots.
Yeah.
Talk about that whole experience in Cleveland last year.
Yeah, I mean, it was something so special in every way. I was on a 9-week European tour with Sum 41, and one night after the show, I just got this idea of, because my first show with Sum 41 was actually the AP Awards here in Cleveland.
In 2015, right?
Yeah, it was my first show, and it was Sum 41 reunion show. Original guitar player was back in the band, and we brought out DMC from Run DMC, so we played Sum 41 songs and Run DMC's D songs, which was insane. So, you know, AP has literally supported me since day one with Street Drum Corps, you know, my percussion group. So I just had this idea of a drum performance for them, just doing something different, because I had seen the year before when they announced the Drummer of the Year award, they had a couple Warped Tour drummers do a drumline thing.
Yeah.
Out in the audience. It wasn't on stage. It wasn't this, you know, thing. And years ago, for the Guitar Center Drum Off, I put together this insane drum show with Tommy Lee, where we went through every genre of music. From big band, we had Jay and Max Weinberg open up and play Sing, 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 which was amazing. Jay played it his punk rock style, and Max played it the traditional style.
Oh, cool.
And then we did a funk section with Chad Smith. We did a rock section with Matt Sorum. Tommy and I did electronic music and hip hop. I mean, it was incredible. We had dancers that would dance the style of every one of those genres, video imagery from those, you know, and I hadn't done something like that in a long time, and I really missed that and wanted to do something like that again. So I hit up AP and I said, I have this idea. And they go, that's funny that you say that, because we want to do a drum moment this year. So will you put this together for us? I was like, gladly. And the first person I thought of was Adrian Young, because I've been collaborating with him for 14 years. He's been a part of Street Drum Corps since day one. He was our first special guest, you know, a dear friend. And we said, okay, we want to add one more component. What is that going to be? Is it going to be a DJ? Is it going to be a singer? You know, what's it going to be? And we kept referencing videos of Josh Dunn, because he's taking drums to the forefront, like the Tommy Lees, the Travis Barkers, by going into the audience and being a showman, a great drummer, and all that. I didn't know him, and either did Adrian, but I had just joined the SJC Drums family, you know, around that time, and I reached out to the owner, Mike, and I said, can you hit up Josh and, like, let him know we're doing this, and if he's at all interested, we'd love the opportunity to just get on a phone call and tell him our vision. A second later, I was texted Josh's number, called Josh, and he was in, and it was the most fun I've ever had working on a project. Like, the creative process of putting that together, and then when we all got together, Adrian has a wine cellar drum room in his house.
Wow.
And that's where, like, No Doubt did pre-production demos for Rocksteady record, and we got to go down there with just kick, snare, hat each, and really figure out, how are we going to make this musical? Let's start dividing parts and lines and making it really musical. Let's go out in the crowd. Let's get on kits. Let's get on marching drums. I mean, all these things. And it was so much fun. And the coolest thing, you know, ever is that going to AP last night, they said that that performance made them rethink their entire show for, you know, the next time they do it, which is the coolest thing ever to hear, that it inspired them.
That's pretty impressive.
And we just had so much fun. What a great experience. And it was so well received. And, you know, we've all, you know, become the bestest of friends because of that, putting it together. And, you know, being back here, I haven't been back here since.
Mm-hmm.
And we had our families with us last time, and I was here with my son and my wife last time, and it's awesome to be back. And even now to get to play here is like that's a bucket list check off thing for any artist.
That's pretty cool. And I love how you value the idea of showmanship, the idea of performance. Another drummer that really does that that's on your list is Lars Ulrich of Metallica. And it's funny, I feel like this playlist, you picked a lot of my bands, but I would have picked different songs. So what was it about the title track, Master of Puppets, that made you think, oh, that's my Lars song?
Yeah, I mean, it's just such an anthem, fireball of a song. And that was, I picked songs also that were, you look at songs and they remind you of times in your life.
Right.
And, Ride the Lightning came out and I was a Metallica fan for sure. But when Master Puppets and that song came out, that's what did it for me. And Lars really was a showman as well as playing these insane beats, feet that are just insane. And I saw them many times live, and it was just even I saw them at the Rose Bowl last summer. I mean, this stuff is hard to play, and they're up there, and it's inspiring to see that they're still doing it, still playing that great. And in Sum 41, we actually play Master of Puppets. We'll throw it in. We do cool. We do an improv metal section every night, and our guitar player Dave, because he's a shredding metal guy, it'll either be Master of Puppets, it'll be Raining Blood by Slayer, Hot for Teacher, The Trooper by Maiden, or now on the last anniversary tour we did Sabbath, Paranoid, and War Pigs. So that's like
impressive.
we get to just rip that out every night. And because Sum 41 did, I wasn't in the band then, but they did that Metallica Icons night, and they played all these songs.
Yeah,
so
because they've always been very interested and invested in heavy metal. A lot of people sort of pigeonhole them as you guys as a punk band, but
it's
you have
punk
so
metal.
many varied influences.
Yeah, it's a punk metal band, and it's all. That's what's so great about being in the band. It brings me back to my childhood. I mean, I grew up a metal kid. In high school, I played in death metal bands, thrash bands, speed metal bands. So being in Sum 41, I feel like I'm back, in those years playing that fast, and that band definitely gives me a run for my money for sure.
Yeah. And you mentioned Slayer's Raining in Blood on that, and that is on your list. So is Ozzy Osbourne, Over the Mountain. You've got a lot of really drummers that have really great chops, and you clearly have developed great chops.
Learning by playing to those records. I mean, that was my upbringing. I didn't go to formal lessons until I was 6. Up until that time, from 2 to 6, these are the records that I played to and learned, and I would, make pretend I was in those bands, with my headphones and play those records from start to finish. And it's my childhood that shaped me, and that's why I wanted to play respect to it, and that's what has made me who I am. And, that was what was cool to sit and do this playlist. I was like, that to me is my inspiration, my career, what shaped me as a drummer. And I feel that all of that you can see in my playing, and, comes out, in that.
Definitely. But you're not just a drummer that only has chops. You also have a good groove. And I see you have a lot of great groove drummers on here, too. Clyde Stubblefield and James Brown, John Bonham, which has both, and Led Zeppelin, and Carlton Barrett, and Bob Marley. I'd like to ask you kind of a question that I find actually difficult to answer, to put in 2 words. How do you know when you're actually in a groove?
You know what? It's funny because I was in a band in high school, and it was when that really, like the Mobies and all that kind of electronic music was blowing up, and being a live drummer playing that kind of music, the bass player said, "Hey, we got to get way more in the pocket." And that's the first time I ever heard that. I was like, in the pocket. And he's like, I want you to listen and play to Miles Davis, these James Brown records. And he's like, you'll just know. It's something you can't be taught. You just know. And one day it finally hit me. And it's a feeling. It's a feeling when you're in the pocket and you and the other musicians, it's a feeling that's really hard to explain. It's
It
only
is.
if you're in it, but you can tell if you're getting the reaction from the audience, and that's the greatest thing about being a drummer, is controlling that vibe. You know, people are jumping up and down or whatever reaction because of the beat. It all starts with the beat. And that was the most amazing thing when I joined Krewella. You know, it's all about the beat.
Yeah.
And playing to, 100,000 people at these festivals and just seeing that, you know, it feels like you're up there playing God, because you're
Yeah.
controlling this entire thing. And it's like the most infectious, powerful feeling, ever. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. And I really do think that the drummer is the sort of connection to the audience's body and their reaction and their dancing.
Yeah, and it's, I play from here, and the drummers that move me, all these drummers play from here. The fireworks are cool. I respect that. But I'd rather have people move and feel something, and all my drum solos on tour, I make sure there's always a pulse so I don't lose the crowd.
That's so
You know,
important.
the whole, let's go left field and whatever, I'll do the fireworks here and there, but I want to make sure there's always a four on the floor or they don't lose the pulse to what I'm doing, because I want them to just really feel that and be like,
Yeah.
what's going on? Where's the one? Where's the, all that.
I
That for
completely
me
respect that. And drummers out there, take that to heart, because that is how you should play a drum solo.
I mean, I remember I used to go to all the Guitar Center drum offs, and I would just sit there, and it was just fireworks the whole time. And I'm
Noodling.
like, dude, just play a groove for even 8 bars. Let people feel that, and then go crazy. And there's so many drummers that think it just has to be look at me the whole time, and that's cool. And if you have those chops and all that, that's incredible. But let people feel, let people be moved, and that's just the style, because that's how I felt.
Yeah.
When I heard all these records at an early age.
And clearly, groove is important to you. And you mentioned your work with Krewella. We've talked about street drum corps a little bit. And you're very interested, I think, in the relationship and the sort of tension between the acoustic drum kit, the idea of sampling, the drum machine. I mean, you've got 9 Inch Nails' March of the Pigs on here, Beastie Boys' Sabotage, Massive Attack, Angel. A lot of these songs sort of play on that difference. So how do you conceptualize those different kinds of drumming and beat making?
Yeah, I mean, I love electronic music. I love electronic drum sounds.
Yeah.
I've always had electronic drums incorporated in my live drums to replicate sounds and samples from the record, because it would always bum me out to go to a show, and if there was a certain sample or sound that wasn't being played live, it bummed me out. So when I got in Sum 41, I said, hey guys, like, you have all these amazing sounds and samples. Can you give me those sounds? And I'll play them. Like, we play all live. We don't use backing tracks and computers. There's none of that. There's 5 of us on stage, and we all can make it happen, which is awesome. It's probably the only band I've ever been in my career where it's 100% live.
That's great.
So I'm playing, even little keyboard sounds and things, I'm playing them on pads, and Massive Attack's Angel is, for a program groove, that I think is the most perfect program thing, that it makes the machine feel so human, the way that feels, and just the eeriness and the vibe of that. It's just done so well, because it's such a heavy groove. A lot of the dance music now is either halftime or 4 on the floor, which is just, very steady. That is just, I mean, genius programming.
Yeah.
Whether it was played live and then replaced live, I'm not sure how they did that, but I'm pretty sure it was probably programmed. But just what a haunting, epic groove.
Yeah, and very ethereal, I would say.
And that
too.
song was probably my intro into electronic music. That's why I've
wow.
picked that one.
I gotta talk about Rage Against the Machine, because Brad Wilk, in my opinion, is just one of the most phenomenal
100%.
drummers. He has the chops, he has the groove, he's got everything. What really appealed to you about the song Killing in the Name?
It just changed the world, I feel like, that song.
Yeah.
And to this day, it's when I do the emo nights and stuff, I'll play that song, and it's a song that is just a timeless classic, like a Jimi Hendrix or a Zeppelin. It's just one of those songs, and the way they mix those genres together, and how punk and aggressive it was, and just he is everything that I love in a drummer. How tasty, simple, how he makes you feel. And we've done last year and this year a bunch of festivals with Prophets of Rage, and I've stood right next to him, and it's unbelievable. He is James Brown's drummers, Bonham, and everything I love about music in one, and an incredible, human being. And when we played a festival together, he actually gave me such an amazing compliment about my drummer, and that was just like beyond mind blowing to get from somebody like that who I respect so much. And he's just so powerful. So everything is just groove, and just to see the people bouncing the way he does it, it's just done so perfectly, and it's like effortlessly, because that's just him, and that's exactly what I love about music and drumming.
Yeah, and I can see some overlap in your styles, not just in the sheer power, but in the really strategic use of the crash cymbal as sort of that timekeeper that he does a lot. I hear that a lot, for example, in Fake My Own Death on the new Sum 41 record.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we can't have a drum interview and not talk about Ringo, right? I mean, you picked I Want You, She's So Heavy, the last track on the first side of Abbey Road by the Beatles. There are so many things to love about Ringo, I can't even list them all. What do you love about Ringo?
The fact that if you go to the studio or you're playing with other artists and they say, give me the Ringo, the fact that he's created something that exactly, I'm going to play this beat, I'm going to do that fill, and that's the Ringo. Or, it's a language now. Derek will say, give me a growl. You know exactly what to do. And that, I think, is the ultimate. That's when you've made it. Like,
You're
literally. If somebody says, give me the Zummo, I don't know, what that is or whatever, but that's like, he created such a legendary movement, and his drumming is so tasty and simple, but not,
simple but creative.
Yeah.
So creative.
And that song, because I grew up on heavier music, when it goes to that whole outro halftime part, that to me is such an epic anthem ending. And Motley Crue ripped that off in the Dr. Feelgood record on is it Slice of Your Pie or Sticky, one of those songs, like deep album tracks. And when I filled in for Tommy Lee Burnt His Hand on their festival tour a couple summers ago, and I literally had to fly out and be in the band for 2 weeks, and we were playing that record from start to finish, and to play that part live, which is just they ripped that that part off, it was so powerful and such an amazing groove and feel, and just with all the vocals flying around, like pretty amazing. That's a pretty obscure song for I think anybody. There's just the one that did it for me with the Beatles that really got me like hooked on them.
That must have been amazing to actually get to play with Motley Crue, because I believe Motley Crue was your first concert, right?
At 5, that's how awesome my parents are. They took me to see Ozzy and Motley Crue, and that's why I picked Ozzy too. Tommy Aldridge, I saw him do drum clinics when I was young, and Ozzy and Motley Crue was my first show, and that's being in that arena at 5 years old. And seeing Tommy Lee, I was in the nosebleed seats, and seeing him come on stage and literally be such a showman and be larger than life, I knew at that moment that I wanted to be a drummer. And then fast forward years later, he became a fan of Street Drum Corps, and I met him, and we became really good friends. And then to being in the band that inspired you to do it was insane. I mean, it was the most surreal. Every night it didn't seem real. And I had, talk about full circle, I had my father come see the show in Florida, and Tommy went on stage and told the story to the audience that my dad took me to see Motley, and that inspired me and changed my life. And now my dad's in the band watching it. And now being a father, it's like I can only dream to have that moment, whether it's if my son's a baseball player because I took him to a Dodger game or whatever it may be. Pretty insane.
Well, that seems like the perfect note to end on. Thank you so much for hanging out with us and creating this great playlist. Again, you can check this out on Spotify on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame channel so that you can listen to the great songs we didn't get to, like Jay-Z 99 Problems and all these great tunes. You can also check out the most recent Sum 41 album, 13 Voices, while you're on Spotify. It's a killer record. Go to rockhall.com for the latest info about our guest set series. Go to SJC's website for more info about the Loyal to the Craft tour. And if you're in the area, come on down, because from about 1 to 5, we're going to just have awesome drumming and awesome music down here.
We're just hanging today. That's what this tour is about, to give people an experience that they don't have when I'm on tour with Sum 41 and all that. It's just like, I'm going to give you a up close look at kind of all this highlights of my career, and then we're gonna hang. We get an undiscovered local drummer to open the show, and then I play with them to close the whole thing off. And it's a hang, you know, for anybody to ask me any question they've ever wanted to ask me, and it's been pretty incredible so far. And we've just been really inspiring kids, and that's what this whole thing is about. And I feel, you know, that's our responsibility as artists, to have this platform and use it as a positive thing to inspire kids. And that's our mission on this tour.
That's awesome. It also kind of overlaps with our mission too, which is to engage, teach, and inspire through the power of rock and roll
100%.
music.
And that's why it's the perfect, blend of us being here together.
Great partnership. All right, thanks again, Frank.
Thank you.
Thanks to you guys at home. Until next time.
Awesome.
That was killer. Awesome. Cool. Yeah. So fun. Great stories.